Joining me is Independent MP for North Sydney, Kylea Tink. Kylea, before we talk about the multiple issues going on in Canberra at the moment, I've just got to ask you about this situation in the Northern Territory. We've seen a violent murder of a 19-year-old boy. Does the federal government need to do more here to intervene?
Laura, the federal government is fundamentally tasked with three key responsibilities. The first is to provide leadership. The second is to ensure coordination across the states and territories. And the third is to provide appropriate stimulus, whether that is economic stimulus, human capital, ideas. Clearly, as a nation, on a number of issues, we're living in a fractured and broken societal structure. And yes, wherever that occurs, the federal government has the opportunity to step in and truly lead. We see it in crime in the Northern Territory. We're seeing it in the way that single mothers are being treated across the nation. We're seeing it in the way that people are being detained in aged care facilities. We need a federal government that is truly prepared to lead. And I think that is what we're seeing, particularly from someone like myself and others on the crossbench.
Yeah.
Australians are tired of being governed from term to term. Let's actually look at the long-term problems and fix them in the moments that we have to do that.
That's right. The politics is intervening here. I mean, I don't know whether you were listening to that, but Natasha Files saying we want to stop it before it takes hold. It's almost like modern politics gives us these glib lines about an alternate truth, which is not actually happening. I mean, this thing has taken hold there. We're talking about a review to make them seem like that they're doing something when nothing is actually happening to combat this kind of crime. I mean, I've spoken to you about this before, and I think this is why we have seen the rise of independence, because old politics isn't working. And what we just saw there from the Northern Territory government was old focus group politics.
Look, we have to be really aware as a community. It is not the solutions that we lack to any of the major problems we face in this nation. There have been hundreds of reviews and commissions that have been, brought on board to produce reports. We even saw, a really substantive report produced by the Productivity Commission, came out on the weekend, telling us exactly the way forward to move our industry and move our economy. But you're right, Laura, with the two-party dominant system, we keep ending up in this gridlocked scenario where actually it's all about the power and delivering the lines that are going to enable them to win the next election. When did we stop being a country which was focused on our long-term development and agenda? And I think you are 100% right. That is why we saw such a change in the way that people voted in the last election. Australians are tired of politics that is about just the party and power. We want politics to be about the people and our society to move ourselves forward in a positive way. And for someone like me, that's actually what's so exciting about being in this place. The answers are here. We just need to hold the government's feet to the fire to get them to be brave enough and courageous enough to start to act on those answers, because that's what Australians want.
Well, look, you don't have the balance of power, but I don't think that makes the Teals at all ineffective. You have your own platform now. What about AUKUS? What are you going to use your platform to do here? Are you worried about the cost? Can that be pared back?
Look, I think there are so many elements to this AUKUS conversation, and it's important that we continue to have this conversation as a nation. In terms of the cost, so firstly I want to say I do accept the strategic advice from all of those that are very deeply involved in the defence system of our nation, that having a really high-performing and fully functioning Navy is one of the most important things that we can do to ensure that our sovereignty is always protected. I unashamedly am someone who always looks at any opportunity from the lens of how do we make this best for our country. And I think that, I've heard very clearly from those involved in the military strategic areas that Navy is fundamental. Arguably, we need adequate Navy equipment before we need tanks, because we need to be able to defend our boundaries.
So you're worried about these costs of the submarines or not?
Well, the Treasurer at this stage in the House on public record has told us that the cost for these submarines are going to be offset by savings from the military budget. So that's where someone like me plays a pivotal role in ensuring that's exactly what we see eventuate. I am curious to see this happen. It begs the question that if there is that much money that is currently being spent in areas that are unneeded in the military, why hasn't that money been previously redirected to things like improved social payments for single mothers? I understand it's a balance sheet. I think every Australian, there's very few Australians out there that don't have to balance a budget. We get it. You can only spend money once. So I'll be watching very closely to make sure that the money that is invested in this space is money that is brought from other areas where the government's been able to identify savings.
Kylea Tink, we've run out of time. We'll see you soon.
Lovely to chat, Laura.